Hello, everyone, and glad to see you back at Silver Tears Tarot. A warm welcome, of course, to anyone who is joining us for the first time. So, today we're doing another pick a pile. We're going to see what sort of lessons are coming your way, particularly as it relates to the soulmate cycle. So, we talked about it in a previous reading, kind of having grabbed the end of something, like just a little thread, and you're holding on to it and unraveling it, and it's helping you to find some new truths. We even see in some of these readings about these new truths about yourself and the healing path. And here we're going to dig in a little bit more deeply just to see what's coming for you in that way. So, of course, these are general readings and, they may not resonate with everybody, but with it being a pick a pile, you have better odds of getting the right reading for you. So, if you enjoy the videos, please be sure to like, share, subscribe so you'll be able to stick with me. And there have been some really intense soulmate readings here lately. So, if you get a reading that really resonates, you may want to check out some of the recent messages to see if there is more there maybe for you to discover. So it's time to pick out your pile. There is pile one with the tiger's eye, pile two with rose quartz, and then pile three with the green aventurine. So, as I always say, don't overthink it. Just breathe, let yourself drift toward one of the piles. You can watch more than one if you want to. Pause the video if you need to. And then if you chose pile one, it'll be up next. So for pile two or three, you can click on the linked timestamps down below. So pick your pile and let's get started. Okay, so starting out with pile one. Pile one had the tiger's eye. This is a fabulous tiger's eye. It's one of my favorites. I'm going to be reading for you with the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, and then I'm going to clarify with the As Above deck from the Book of Shadows Tarot. So getting started here, remember we're looking at the lessons that are coming toward you. We're going to start by getting a current energy for each of you. So starting first with your current energy, let's see what comes out for your current energy. Okay, and we have, let's see. So let's go ahead and take a look in the upright. This is a five of, it's air energy. It's the five of air, though. So this is a lot like the five of swords, but it's in the reverse. And so this is telling us that some of the anxiety that would be associated with that usual upright five of swords sort of energy is not happening. So there is a release in your anxiety. There is something that is coming about that is causing you to come out of this very difficult energy that you may have spent a fair amount of time in. And that's that anxiety energy that it's like inefficient energy. It's almost feeling that you're just spinning your wheels and you're working really hard, but nothing's really coming of it. So that's not the case now. We're getting something that's a little bit more solid, less anxiety, a little bit more efficient energy. So what you're doing is actually going to amount to something under that energy. So that's pretty positive. We'll see what happens when we clarify, but I like the sound of it so far. Let's get your person's current energy here. And, oh, we got one. Let's see. We have the scribe, but it's in reverse. Okay, so this one is also air energy. We're going to take a look at this one in the upright as well. The scribe is so this tarot deck is a little bit unusual. It's not modeled, or it's modeled after the traditional tarot, but it has a few additional cards as well and a few additional concepts. And so with this one, the scribe is exactly what it sounds like, but it's someone who documents, a record keeper, somebody who is really paying attention to those records. And what we have here in the reverse is somebody who is kind of not keeping track, not watching those records, not wanting to keep score. That's one of the things that really wants to come out here for that energy. And so that is the current energy with your person. What really comes out for that. So the scribe means a lot of things, but in this case, it's a person who really is not wanting to keep score. Let's look at what the biggest lesson is um, in their situation. So right now we've got them not necessarily wanting to keep score. We're going to look at your lesson as well, but I think first let's go ahead and take a look at what your person is to be learning in this situation. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So we've got the King of Air, and we're just going to take that top card. The King of Air, there's a lot of air coming out here, a lot of intellect, a lot of communication. That's a lot of what is governed by that air energy. So that the King of Air is an incredibly logical king, and it's the one of the best things about him is that he's able to really take a step back, look at a situation, and understand more about it, take that broader view about it. And so that is what your person is working to learn here. They're learning to take that step back and really take that broader view. So that may be something that possibly you are very good at. I kind of get the sense here that neither of you is particularly a novice at this, but that your person is learning some new lessons in this area. And the fact that they're kind of not wanting to keep records, not wanting to keep score, they almost have their eyes closed to it, is going to make it more difficult for them to take a step back and take a look at the big picture. So it is maybe a lesson that they're kind of is somewhat resistant to, but we'll take a look at that a little bit more when we go to clarify. Let's look now into what your lesson is in all this. And so, the thing is, lessons can be numerous. This isn't going to be the only lesson. It's just going to be kind of the one that's sticking out the most. And sometimes it can be something that really sums it up, where you have a lot of lessons that are in a variety of, corners that amount to kind of the same thing. Well, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. This is kind of the example that I wanted to that it was coming up for me anyway. So this is more air energy, and it's a 10 of air, but this is that painful ending sort of energy. And so it's actually the example that I wanted to give. The lesson is going to be around releasing of attachments. However, the pain in the ending is generally going to be more around, and it's going to be cyclical for you. It's going to be something that has come into your life in more than one form, in more than one at more than one time. So it's going to be betrayal. It's going to be abandonment. It's going to be being left behind, rejection, those types of feelings, that sort of painful ending. That's what this lesson may look like, but and it may look that way, several different aspects of it. But the overall picture is you learning how to be less attached. And so it's less attachment. It's actually releasing those attachments, and you want to release also expectations and assumptions around people, situations, and outcomes. And so that's the big picture of the lesson. Again, we'll see a little bit more about it when we go to clarify. um, let's take a look at struggles, kind of what's getting in the way here. And these struggles could be, something that the two of you share. I don't want to say this one's necessarily going to be unique to you or them, especially because it's relevant to this soulmate cycle. It's going to be something that's happening in the energy between you, although it may impact one of you more than it impacts the other. So this is fire, two of fire, and this is a concept that has come up over and over for us. So if you watch the Soulmate series, you'll notice this concept coming up over and over, and it is oftentimes wrapped around the card with this energy. So this is two of fire. It's like a two of wands. A lot of times this card can represent travel. It can represent a decision or a crossroads. In this case, it represents something like travel, but it's that emotional distance that can exist between people. So it's not necessarily crossing a physical distance, it's crossing that emotional distance. We keep seeing this two of wands come up, and it often means that. And I will tell you that it has not always meant that for me. A lot of times when I've taken a look at it, it has meant something a little bit more along the lines of a decision or crossroads, something that you need to set into motion in order to make something work. But here, we're getting a lot of that energy quite frequently throughout this collective, that there is a difference between the two of you from an emotional standpoint, and that difference needs to be bridged. But what we see here in the struggles is that this is in reverse, and somehow that distance is not really being bridged. So that is part of the reason why some of the struggles continue to exist, because it's very difficult to see eye to eye, to get onto the same page, and that is part of why the two of you have bounced off of one another in quite the way that you have. But your person has this big lesson to learn about opening their eyes. They've got to open their eyes, because we see in their current energy kind of what some of their struggles are. They are wanting to kind of detach from their situation, which is not the same as not removing attachment or releasing attachment. This is somebody that wants to kind of disconnect from their situation. They also don't want to take that step back, because it giving them that broad view. They're actually, like I said, not a big novice at that. They have the ability to do this. They're kind of avoiding it as it's because of an emotional concern that they have over the situation. Um, so maybe we'll learn a little bit more about that. In your lesson, though, it's one that, like I said, it continues. It's cyclical. It just kind of keeps coming. But the thing is, with your energy up here, this is like a nice, clean energy that no longer allows this cycle to happen without at least seeing it for what it is. So that's a pretty powerful concept. Let's take a look here at kind of where you guys are going. So it's the what's coming next energy, but more than anything, it's the what is the energy to which you're going to be adding your free will. So it is definitely future facing sort of energy, but we'll take a look at that, and then we'll jump in and start to clarify. So we've got integrity as the future facing energy. I almost couldn't ask for anything better than that. That's pretty fantastic. So basically, we'll have to see what happens when we pull out some cards to clarify, but the surface energy is telling us that you've got this current energy of almost a calm, clean sort of new leaf that you're turning over. There's a sense here that this calm, clean energy is relatively new. This pattern of energy is relatively new as you're delving into it, and it's going to help you with this lesson of trying to be less attached to people, less have fewer expectations about outcomes, and assumptions about situations. These things are going to start to come away for you, but what you're going to discover also is that those expectations create limits. They create limitations that the situation might not otherwise have had. So that's one of the things that wants to come out even before we're going in to clarify. Your person, though, it looks like I mentioned they have like this feeling that they have their eyes closed. They are not feeling super receptive to the lessons that they are to learn. And it's really just sharpening something that they're already maybe pretty good at. But it's that ability to step back and take a big look at the big picture. But for some reason, they're really resisting doing that. There's some pain there that they're looking to stay away from, and I also feel that in the challenge here, where it's that trouble meeting in the middle somewhere, but it's really that emotional distance, that emotional expanse that exists between the two of you that hasn't been covered yet, but looks like we're heading in a direction of integrity. So what people say is going to be what they mean. So let's go ahead and jump in and clarify. And again, like I said, clarifying with the As Above deck. So this is a set. The Book of Shadows Tarot is a set, and there's an As Above deck and So Below. And, well, I just dropped one on the floor. Okay. So it did not come. Sometimes when they drop on the floor, I have to decide if I want to keep them. We're just going to take this one. So we actually have the Book of Shadows that's come up. That's like the equivalent of the Hierophant in this deck. So it's about spiritual guidance. It's about tradition. It's about upholding tradition. It's about trying to decide what is, the right thing to do also. And we also have the Two of Water that came up. And I just like to take that top card unless I'm guided to take others. If you guys have been watching me, you've heard me say that in almost every reading, because every reader kind of has their own rules about the way they pull cards out. But there are new people that come in here. I just kind of want to double check and make sure that I kind of explain what I'm doing so they aren't confused and spending a lot of time thinking about it. So we've got in your current energy. Remember, this is that five of air, but it's reversed. And so it's that anxiety that you are kind of no longer feeling. It's a much more clean, clear sort of emotion that's happening now, and a lot more thinking is possible. So that emotion that may have been roiling has cleared out for you, or smoothed out for you to be able to do a little bit more on the intellectual side and to kind of keep that going. But there's still a sense of you wanting to make sure that you do things right, make sure that you have things right. So that's that, like I said, that spiritual guidance, wanting to make sure that you're in connection with your own spirit, etc. But there's also this sense here of feeling like the partnership between the two of you is not being extra successful at this point. So this is where we acknowledge that part of the reason that the partnership is not as the way you'd want it to be. It's not as you'd want it to be. Um, Part of that is because if you were comfortable, it would be tougher to learn the lessons. You are in this situation to help you learn some lessons, and so without that discomfort, it wouldn't come to be. However, it's pretty evident that you're feeling disillusioned as a result of it. So as much as this energy is clear, there's still a lot of pain here, a lot of difficulty. So I felt like that too when I said that the energy had smoothed out instead of cleared out, or the emotion had cleared out. Um, it's really not gone. You're still feeling a lot of that emotion. So smoothed out is probably the right term to use. So let's go ahead and clarify on your person's energy. And so this was the scribe in reverse, and this was your person not wanting to keep score. But they got the Beltane card. So that's like the lover's card in the traditional tarot. And let's see here. Pick those up. Okay, these cards are extra slippery today. Let's take a look at the cards that came out here with the scribe in reverse. So this is your person's energy, and it is kind of spectacular. If you were um, scared of realizing that you have a choice in front of you that allows you to have everything you've ever wanted, from a love perspective, if that was in front of you, as well as the prospect of potentially marriage, um, long term relationship, great, beautiful stability, if all of that sat in front of you, what are the odds that you would, potentially be a little bit nervous about it, a little bit scared, and possibly, I think that's what your person is doing. I think that they are, and I see with this possibility in front of you, you actually have a pretty different response to it, or you had a pretty different response to it. But your person has kind of shut down in response to seeing this beauty in front of them. So we know that they also aren't wanting to take a look at the big picture, but it makes me wonder why they're shutting down. This doesn't really tell me why. So we know that in order for the lessons to be learned, things have to be difficult. There has to be something that you can actually push against. And I get that. But I guess what I'm not sure about is what the specific reaction is. It's like they've shut down because of how beautiful it is. That's something that I'd like to take into the extended, if at all possible. So let's take a look here next at this King of Air. And so this is again the lesson that they're learning. Okay, so about the King of Air and the lesson that they're learning, that your person is learning. And we see also, did we just have one flip over in there? Maybe we didn't. I thought I saw it for a second. Sometimes, um, I ask a question, I get a little bit more than I bargained for. And that's kind of what happened in this last question here. That got me because I was looking to clarify this and I didn't realize how much of a reaction your person had to the positivity that is the energy of the two of you together. That's actually kind of a big deal. Um, got a couple of cards that want to come out here to clarify here on the King of Air. Now let's take a look at all of these. So we've got the Maiden of Fire, which is a lot like the Page of Fire in this deck. Page of Fire is a very curious page. That's one who it's like a minor arcana fool sort of energy, ready to kind of jump out there. And that is exactly what this person is guarding against. So there is something here that just makes them want to guard against and to they immediately shut down, like they see this amazing potential for love, this amazing potential for stability, and they have completely shut down, even though their lesson is to be able to take that step back and take the broader look. But we see here they've got some tens on this side, so this is this is clarifying almost even what's happening over here. Basically, a very difficult ending for them, represented by this Ten of Air, um, has created this fear in them, and so this is like a reaction that they now have when they run into something as amazing as what they perceive you to be, and they perceive you to be absolutely the most amazing possibility. So this is the 10 of Earth, and so it's like that happy household energy. I've talked about this before. It's that happy household energy where everybody has their needs met. There's a very harmonious sort of energy in the household. It's just a beautiful thing. And so basically, when they perceived the possibility of that happening with you, they locked up and were just like, oh my goodness, I feel like I want to jump in over here, but I feel like I can't possibly. I've gotten burned on this in the past. I'm not allowing it to happen again. Not going to utilize my ability to stand back and take a look at the big picture. Whereas if they did utilize that ability to stand back and take a look at the big picture, they would be able to see, hold on, this is actually something that's worth getting into. They see this incredible person, this incredible possibility for a household. They just want to jump in there. They feel like they can't. There's something that makes them not be able to do that. And again, like I said, I want to see what that barrier is when we get into the extended for this one. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at your lessons. So we've got that 10 of Swords and we've got transformation all over this energy. So it's transformation from this painful ending that's going to help you to be able to do the actual release of the attachments like we were talking about earlier. Is that single card? I will take it. Okay, so um this is the 13 card. It's the Yule card, and it's kind of also like the Devil card, the way that it works in this deck, but we have it in the reverse. So as opposed to having something that is taking control over you, it's something that is no longer controlling you anymore. And I'm sensitive to saying that it's like the Devil card in this deck because in many ways it has a different feel to it, and every time it's ever come out it does have a pretty different feel to it. But it's also it's the weight of tradition that is no longer on you. There's some sort of weight has been lifted, but you have lifted it from yourself as part of this transformation. So this is really interesting. It's been a successful transformation for you, which is what I'm seeing over here. So there's a lot of positivity that's already happened in here, but you seem to be very much in the midst of this. And I see that up here. I can see how much progress you've made because I can see the anxiety is starting to fall away, but I can see that there's still some to go because of the fact that you're really feeling like the partnership piece, you might still be a little wary of partnership regardless of the fact that you're working on exactly the lesson that's going to help you not feel wary about partnership. So once you're able to release that extra weight of expectation, And that's really more what this feels like, weight of expectation. And you should be very successful in doing this. That's going to be an incredible lesson for you. And it feels like you're most of the way there. It's like it's why we've got so many chasers who are not chasing their runners. And it's because you're most of the way there. A lot of that self worth has already been gained. It's just still painful. There are still edges that have to be worked through. Let's take a look at this Two of Fire here that's in reverse, and get a feel for really what's in that hidden energy. All right, so we've got the Goddess, but in reverse. And that's about being not being mentally prepared for the change that's being asked of you. Um, and that's both of you. We also have the Wisdom card. It's like the High Priestess that is in the reverse. So this is like the Empress and the High Priestess that are in reverse. They have to do with so the reason that this emotional distance is having a hard time being crossed is because neither of you is especially ready to cross that distance. There are, secrets that are going to be coming out for you, but there's also not enough of a connection between yourselves, your higher selves, your higher power, and each other on a spiritual level to allow you to bridge that distance. That's really what this is. But honestly, I feel like so all of that is true, but I feel like if your person were able to bridge their own gap between themselves and their higher selves, they would have most of this problem fixed right here. That's kind of what it feels like to me. So there is definitely, it's a mutual thing, that neither of you is quite ready for this, and that you both require a better connection with that higher power and that higher self. But it feels much stronger on their side. So you will want to continue to work on that, but recognize that you may be farther along on this path than they are. So let's take a look at this integrity card. And remember, this is the energy into which you are currently headed, that you're going to be able to add your own free will. So let's see here. First card that comes up is the Mother of Fire. That's like the Queen of Wands. And then we also have the Elemental of Fire. So that's like the King and Queen of Wands. This is it's an interesting combination because the energies that are coming out off of these cards, so these two are a pair, okay? The Elemental and the Mother of Fire are a pair. However, the meanings that are coming from the cards, it doesn't stop there. So there is a sense here that where there has been an attempt to control, maybe too much of an attempt to control, that some of that's going to fall away and there won't be as much of one. There's also going to be this ability to sort of get real with each other, that it does make sense to go along with the integrity, but the idea is that the two of you will be able to get real with one another on a level that you have not historically been able to do, and you're going to know it when it happens. So that's kind of an interesting next step to go into, because we see here that I would feel like it would be easier if you were ready for bridging that gap to go into this next step, but maybe it's all part of getting to the place where you can bridge this gap. So I think what we will look at in the extended, because we're about to go there, one of the things that we're going to look at is this barrier between your person and the why are they reacting the way that they are? We're going to take a look at kind of the barrier between them. We're also going to take a look at this. How do you get to this energy here? Because this is a really ideal, amazing sort of situation. And so usually the bridge question is, how do you get from your current energy to where you want to be? We're going to look at how you're getting from your current energy to where you are look like you're going here. And then maybe we'll even take a look at a little bit deeper of a look at this, because I feel like it's going to have something to do here with this hidden energy as well, where we've got places where things aren't quite ready to move forward, people aren't quite ready to move forward. So it's interesting though, because you guys have you have very specific lessons that probably have a lot of elements to them. So your lesson is in the release of attachments. And your person's lesson is really in release of control and allowing themselves to step back, look at the big picture, and actually take in what they see instead of running away. So that is where I'm going to go ahead and stop things for right now. We'll go into the extended and get in a little bit deeper. If this has resonated with you so far, I would just say please do like and share and subscribe, and that will help us stick together. So I'll see you over in the extended, or I will see you at another reading in the future. And here we are with pile two. So pile two had the rose quartz, a really nice rose quartz. I'm going to read for you from the Ferenc Pinter tarot, and then I'm going to clarify with the uncommon tarot. And again, we're looking at what those lessons are that the two of you are here to learn, you and your soulmate, as well as maybe something about that. So maybe what's in the way of it, what's making it difficult, that sort of thing. So let's start out by getting the current energy for you. And this is just going to be for you. That came out relatively quickly. We have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, or the wheel in reverse. So the wheel is things moving, but it's because of energy that's moving around you. It's like having the wind at your back. I think I said that in a previous reading. So the wheel, but it's in reverse. So we don't have the wind of change at your back right now. Doesn't mean you can't change. We'll look into it a little bit more here when we clarify, but that's kind of the current energy that's going on with you. It's almost a sense of stagnation, only I'm curious to know because I didn't get the sense that you were, from this, I get the sense that the energy is not moving around you, but not necessarily that you yourself are not moving. So let's get the energy around your person. Wow, this is coming out fast. I don't think I've ever seen a chance to not even get to shuffle. So your energy for your person is the 9 of wands, and the 9 of wands is, so it's that I'm still standing sort of energy. It's almost standing guard, staying in a battle that has been going on for a very long time. And some might say it's not entirely worth it to continue being in the battle, but for whatever reason, this person still is. And so that's kind of the place where your person is. But it's also that wounded warrior sort of feeling where they may be pretty tired from what they've been doing. So that's their current energy. You both have some pretty intense current energy. With you, there's that sense of stagnation around you. With them, there's that sense of I've been doing this for a long time and maybe aren't quite sure how that ought to continue. So let's look at now what is their biggest lesson in the situation. All right, and we actually have two cards that want to come out. So usually I just take that top card. Unless I'm drawn to take more, but this time I'm drawn to take more. So we've got the Star as well as the Ten of Swords in reverse. So their biggest lesson in this situation is getting past the Ten of Swords. So the Ten of Swords represents a very painful, difficult ending that happened somewhere in their past. Doesn't have to be with a previous relationship. It could be. But I also get the sense that this could go all the way back to childhood. It could be a pain that they're looking to address that goes pretty far back. And the Star, though, is that sense of divine path. So they feel like they almost can't not go down this path. This is destined, it's divine. They don't have much resistance or ability to resist it. But it's going to force them to get past this difficult past that they have. So basically, and we'll figure out a little bit more here when we clarify, but your person has to figure out how to go down a path that they're supposed to go down, even when it's scary because they've got, a memory at the top of the path that's keeping them from being able to be casual as they walk down it. So that's kind of what's going on with their lesson. They have to learn how to work past that. And apparently this makes them lock up, which that doesn't surprise me based on some of the other readings that I've seen in the Soulmate series. A lot of the folks, your person, a lot of your people have locked up, and some have stopped communicating entirely. Some have fairly essentially disappeared. Some have ghosted out completely, and some are really just kind of hanging in there, but not not being very good communicators, clearly have something to get past. And so that is essentially their lesson here, is to work to get past that. So let's see here about your lesson. What is it that you are supposed to be learning from all this? And the interesting thing is that, it's not ever going to be all of the lessons. This is going to be just the lessons that want to come out for this reading are going to be the ones that maybe are coming to the fore for you now, although we know there may be more lessons involved. So this is a good one. This is interesting. It's not all that different from the lesson that they had over here. We had two cards that wanted to come out again. So we have the Page of Wands in the upright, and then we have the Empress in the reverse. So the Page of Wands is willing to do new and exciting things, almost like a minor arcana Fool. And if I recall, the Fool kind of came out under the Empress too. Didn't want to stay out. I just wanted to grab that top card, but I did happen to see it. So there's that feeling of, I want to go ahead and jump in, but I'm not ready. And so it's a sense of being able to do something without quite being ready. Just like over here, they've got a sense of having to do something, but not being quite ready. They're overcoming a difficult past in order to do that. You don't seem to have that same issue. So I feel like you have done this already. You have already come past what was difficult in your past in order to advance down the path, which is the thing that they're having a hard time with. But in your case, it's being able to not be prepared for something and just kind of have to go along with it anyway. And it could even be just the way something goes. So it's not that you have to jump into something like the Fool card would suggest. It may be more that you may have to move into patterns of thought or a new way of doing things, but that you don't feel like you're ready for. And it feels like it's relevant to this relationship, even because even just working around their inability to get through what's difficult for them, that's part of what you are wanting to be able to do. But you don't feel ready to let go and let them do their path, because here it's really going to be a matter of allowing them to walk down their path at the rate that they need to. But that's a difficult thing when you don't feel developed enough and not quite ready to do that. So we're going to take a look here at what kind of the struggles are. What are the struggles? So we see a little bit of the struggles even in the current energy. We've got the Wheel for you, where in reverse. So we've got the winds of change not really being at your back, and then we've got the Nine of Wands for them. So they're kind of tired, still standing, still fighting in this battle that's been going on for a really long time. Let's get a feel for maybe some of the struggles that are facing this relationship. All right, and we have it's burnout. We have the Ten of Wands in reverse, and it's so the Ten of Wands is carrying a burden. It's a difficult thing to do. Ten of Wands in the reverse is where you aren't carrying it, you are setting it down. So one of the challenges that's happening here is maybe the two of you not wanting to necessarily continue on the path that you're on. So clearly your person does not want to continue on this path, but they keep feeling like they're drawn back to it because it's got that divine nature to it. But they really don't want to go down it because it reminds them of a difficult pain. So they would like to they've been doing this for a long time, and they would just like to stop and walk away. And there's actually a sense of burnout. It's not a matter of so much what you would like to do, it's that they break and can no longer go forward. Or that's kind of what the challenge has been here. And that challenge for you is also significant because you're trying to work with this, despite the fact that you don't feel like you have all the development in place. You don't feel like you necessarily have everything that you need to move forward. So that turns into a pretty heavy load for you, especially without the wind at your back from the universe helping you out. So this becomes a big challenge where the two of you are essentially at like an impasse. You can't get this person to move, and you can't seem to get mentally where you need to go. It just becomes very challenging. This is an uncomfortable card. Let's see kind of what's coming next. And so that's that question, that characteristic question that I often like to ask here at the end. And it is about what is the energy that's coming your way? What is the energy that you're heading toward, to which you're going to be adding your own free will? Okay, and so we have the Four of Cups, but it's in reverse. So here's one card that I pretty much always like to see in reverse. So the Four of Cups in the upright is a card of boredom. It's a card of not getting involved. It's a card of just sort of being disillusioned and walking away. There's a lot of disappointment there. In the reverse, though, it's the opposite of that. It's not being so disappointed. It is getting involved. This is really a pretty cool card. So I have been looking for the opportunity now to come in and clarify. This is that first layer of energy that we look at that just kind of gives us an idea of what's going on. So we know that, you are in a position where you're moving maybe, but it's not because the universe is pushing you along. And your person is still in this situation that kind of we're referring to as a battle, but they're in this situation and it's very difficult for them to still keep standing. But we also see that they have broken periodically along the way here as they've been trying to learn this lesson, which is a divinely guided lesson, but it's one that helps them come past some of the pain from their past, and they're really just having a hiccup with that. And then you've got your lesson, which it's very similar, but it's about moving forward even when you don't want to, you're not ready to, you don't feel like you've got that level of development. It's really easy to just set down that burden and stop. But especially without, you guys are just tired, like you're tired. Especially under those circumstances, it can be very inviting to set that burden down. But we do have the energy that you're moving into that is not a disappointing energy. It is not as difficult of an energy. So let's go ahead and clarify. Like I said, we're going to use the uncommon tarot, and we'll start here with the wheel. So I just want two cards to clarify. We have the Devil card in reverse. Ooh, that's a fabulous card once again to have in reverse. And then we've got another one that popped out here, and it's the Magician in reverse. So that makes sense, along with the card that had already come out for you with the wheel being in reverse. The Magician in reverse is your inability to manifest, or your perceived inability to manifest. Has a lot to do with the fact that you don't feel like things are moving quickly because the wind is not at your back. When things feel like they're moving quickly, everything feels like it's going your way. Manifestation seems like it's very simple, very easy. You can just kind of get in there and say, here's what I want to do, and you just naturally gravitate toward it. But with this energy, you're not necessarily gravitating toward it as quickly. Luckily, though, you're not over here languishing. So there is a discomfort that you kind of have to sit in a little bit because the energy is not moving you along. So you've got your own impetus. If the Chariot came out here, it would be very much in the upright, because your own energy is moving you forward, even though it seems like it's an uphill battle with this Magician card in the reverse. The Devil card in the reverse actually loosens things up for you and allows you to move forward, because that is, the Devil is some sort of something that's controlling you. It can be an addiction, it can be an obsession, it can be a number of things. It can be even a controlling person, a controlling family member, a controlling situation. It can be controlling thoughts, obsessive thoughts, all sorts of things that can happen here that essentially exert control over a person, make it difficult for you to change, difficult for you to manifest. And so I see that falling away for you, which is actually quite huge, because it feels like a huge adjustment here in the lesson that you're learning, but we'll have to get down there here in a bit and learn a little bit more about that. So your energy, although it feels very difficult, is also, it's got a freedom aspect to it. So that's really nice. We'll go ahead and set these down here, and then we can move on to clarify this Nine of Wands for your person's energy. So that Nine of Wands, the I'm still standing, the wounded warrior, those are kind of some of the ones, the terms that I like to use to describe it. We have the Queen of Coins, which has come out. That's a very stable and nurturing energy. That's a very positive. So your person has a pretty reasonable base of functionality. They're able to do almost everything that they want to do. Had one fall on the floor, fell face down. I'm lucky that they fall face down, because then I don't have to think about whether they need to be used in the spread. And then we also have the Moon card. We're just going to take that top card. So your person is in an interesting place. They have been at this for quite some time. They're tired. They're still doing their job. But the toughest part just about for them is keeping the mystery intact, because you have given them a desire to put some of those mysteries out there, to let some of it be seen. And that's a very uncomfortable place for them. It's another thing that they're having a hard time letting pass with regard to the lesson that they're learning. But there is this strength and just nobility and ability to be nurturing and comfortable, comforting. It's like they're borrowing this from you. So if you're feeling your person sort of reaching into your energy, which I admit is going to probably make your lesson a little bit more difficult, that's what's happening. So you guys are connected on multiple levels. You've been connected on multiple levels throughout time. You have a spiritual connection, which is where this is occurring. So they're borrowing a little bit of your strength as they're moving through this, which is going to feel a little bit tougher to you because, of course, we see that the wind of change, like I said, isn't at your back. But by the same token, this is maybe between the two of you, what they're thinking is going to help them kind of get through this. Although I'm curious to understand what they think through this means because unless they have become very aware of their situation, they may be having a tough time getting a bead on this lesson. So let's go ahead and clarify the lesson. And we have the star card for them. Plus, we have the Ten of Swords in reverse. So remember, this was that difficulty that they were having going down the divine path because they've got something at the top of the path that reminds them of a difficult pain. So they want to hide, they want to stay away and just kind of not have to deal with it. Let's get one more card to, ooh, I thought we had a different one. And there's that Chariot card. Okay, so there's a lot of conflict here. It's tough for them to be in this place, and I'm going to try and explain. So they've got this difficult ending that happened in the past, and yet they're being led down this other path. The Chariot card is their desire to just go, just move down it. You are very much drawing them down the path, despite the fact that you also remind them of this difficult pain that they see at the top of the path. So we have the Two of Coins here, which is them being off balance because it's in reverse, and that's the feeling that's coming off of the card. So we have your person trying to learn a lesson that allows them to go down a path that may not be a super difficult path, but the fact that it's actually a very rewarding path, but the fact that there is the threat of pain at the top of the path causes them to want to hide, to run away, to ghost, to just say, never mind, I'm not even going to try and do this. And so then this Chariot, though, is that, remember earlier I was saying they couldn't stop, like they wanted to stop, but they don't have they can't seem to stop. They keep being drawn back down this path. That's you drawing them down the path, but this is their own impetus to go down it. So that's really interesting. But despite that imbalance that they're feeling, so it's a lot of conflict because they're feeling like they need to go down this path. They're very much drawn to go down this path. But by the same token, there's a lot of fear there. There are things right at the top of the path make them want to turn around and go. But it's not as simple as that. If it was that simple, they'd have been gone a long time ago. So, and that's an interesting thing, that a phrase that just kind of wanted to come into my head there. So, if this was easy, or if this was not something that was so compelling, they would not be in this situation. They would have figured out how to get rid of it, and they would have been gone a long time ago. So let's take a look now into your situation, which is feeling increasingly like the learning how to let go of something. So we've got the Five of Coins in reverse. Okay, so it's also bringing yourself out of the cold. And then we've got the Emperor card that has come out in the upright. Okay, so it's a little bit of a complex feeling, but what's happening is you have places in your own life where betrayal has hurt you, perhaps even recently, and with this person. So they are bringing up things for you, just as you're reminding of that painful, difficult ending that they had, that, like I said, may have been pretty far back. Doesn't have to be a previous relationship. Kind of feels like it might go farther back than that. They are reminding you of the same. So It's in your case going to be betrayal, abandonment, rejection, and rejection comes through very strongly in this one. But the thing is, this is the sort of rejection that, when you get it, if you didn't care that much, you would just walk away and say, "That's fine. I'm not concerned about what you think." And maybe that is usually your modus operandi. The issue here is, for whatever reason, this rejection is causing you a very different sort of feeling. And so you have this tendency to still want to be able to jump in, go down the path, but you're being stunted here, and it's partially because of this, which is now a fear. And it's like a fear that you had been able to forget completely about, but now that's no longer the case. You are being put in a situation where you can't not notice it. So you've got this rejection that has been creating just pain. It's not regret. What's the feeling that wants to come from this? Because a lot of times I'll get the regret from that card, but that's more a feeling of oh, what's the best way to describe it? And I'm gonna try and get all these on the screen for you. It's It's like it's a sense of it's feeling abandonment, but it's almost like you're going along with it, and there's this shame. Shame is probably the best word that is associated with it, and it's like you feel this shame for actually having moved toward this person as much as you have. Um, that's part of what you're learning, though. It's part of what you're learning that you're going to give yourself this peace, and you're going to be able to give yourself the strength that you are hoping to glean from this relationship. Because honestly, getting it from them is not going to be a sustainable way to look at things. So it's a matter of standing on your own feet, ignoring the not regret but the shame, or working through the shame. I guess you wouldn't want to ignore it because that's not really going to work well for you either. Let's look at this 10 of wands here. So this is really interesting. This is that blockage that you guys are experiencing that looks a lot like burnout. When I said, what are the challenges? The main one that came through here was burnout. Was, you know what? It's been going on too long. I don't have the wind at my back. This is really hard. I don't think that I can start something new. That's a 10 of wands in reverse. Um, and that's like a missed opportunity sort of ace of wands, that's come out in the reverse here. I hope that's what I said. Let's see, is that single? Nope. If it's a single card, I'll take it. But if it's a bunch of them, then I generally choose not to do that. So we have the wise one, which is like the hierophant in reverse. And this is about your person and you having a hard time not just staying upright and keep going with this heavy burden that you're each carrying, but also, is am I even doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing by myself? Maybe it's interesting because your person feels like moving toward you would be doing the right thing for themselves, but they are able to talk themselves into thinking that it's actually not the right way to go. And this is really, like I said, it's like a missed opportunity sort of ace of wands. So it isn't that the passion isn't there. That the passion kind of can't get out to where it would be useful. And because we had some extra cards here, I'm just trying to kind of arrange them so that we can keep them visible on the screen. I want you guys to be able to see them all. I know a couple of you take screenshots and then come back and kind of think about it. But this is a really tough place to be because it creates a situation where not only is it just difficult to move forward, but also the two of you kind of don't know about it. You kind of don't know how much each other is going through. So this wasn't a hidden energy question, but it is very much coming across to me as hidden energy. You're probably not surprised about your own tendency toward burnout and the things that are happening here, but it's very much mutual. It's very both of you. But you have this energy coming, and I'm curious to understand a little bit more about that. And this is that Four of Cups that is in the reverse. So let's take a closer look here. We have the Knight of Wands also having come out in reverse. And so the Knight of Wands is a passionate forward movement. And when it comes out in the reverse like that, it's a little bit less dependable and it has a tendency to go in, but it comes out just as fast as it goes in. And then we also have the Seven of Coins in reverse. So this is an interesting energy because this is still that in and out energy that you may have already been experiencing. Your person is having a really hard time getting past it, but you may also begin to engage in it. So be prepared for that. Look for the reasons. It's going to be all based around the progress that you're making and the difficulty that you may both be having in making that progress, plus the fact that you're working in this current energy that you are, where you're having, kind of a hard time manifesting. It feels like you're not getting as much help, but you also have a little bit more freedom there. It enables you, because of that, that's emotional freedom, that enables you to be able to come and go at your own, as needed. So you may, like I said, also notice this in and out behavior from yourself. Doesn't mean there's a lack of love, but be aware of what it may show to the other person. So it's not that sense of disappointment, though. That's going to lift. But there is still this feeling that maybe it's not a solid investment, or maybe it's a very difficult place for the two of you to be. So this feels inconclusive, though. So what I want to do, is look at this a little bit more, because this is kind of an energetic next step, but it's not necessarily, I'm not satisfied with it, I guess. So when we look at the first cards that I put down, like I said, that was kind of that current energy across the top in each of these areas. Then we get in a little bit deeper when we pull the clarifiers. What I'd like to do now is go into the extended and get a little bit deeper, because I think we learned a lot of really good things here. But I think it's also worth taking that next step, because this is actually pretty deep and convoluted emotion that you guys are going through. I want to take a look at each of you individually and see how this relationship is really working into your situation. So you've got this current energy of, you know, the difficulties that we just talked about. I'm having a hard time manifesting. Feels like things are around me are a little bit stagnant, but at least I've got this new sense of freedom allowing me to move around a little bit more in it. But there is this difficult lesson here. There's a very difficult lesson about bringing yourself out of the shame, and even in a situation where maybe you feel like you have not been ready to or not equipped to deal with it, and you feel like you're about ready to just give up. Um, there is the sense that with this is kind of the light that comes through for you, but I want to understand what it's going to do. It unlocks things for you to no longer be controlled this way. And so I'm curious, especially about this Emperor card right here, because the Emperor card in this case is not all about control. This is about kind of that. It's like an archetypal safe father sort of archetype, and it's one that you'd be bringing to yourself rather than relying on someone else to bring you, because we all have that feminine and that masculine that is in us. I think the thing that you have to worry about, though, is allowing that to turn into a situation of control, because as you get more of kind of a bead on your situation and how to move through it, one of your responses may be to say, let me jump in here and control this a little bit. And with that devil in the reverse, that's going to be more possible, but I would also advise you to be careful about it. So we're going to take a little bit closer of a look at kind of what's happening with you and your lessons, specific as it relates to this relationship. We're also going to do the same for your person. So, like I said, this person has been at this for a long time. They're having a hard time keeping the mysteries in. But and there's a light at the end of their tunnel as well. So they've been having a lot of imbalance. They feel like they need to move down this path. You're pulling them down this path. They have their own impetus to move down this path, but there's something really scary at the top that kind of stops them. So I want to take a closer look here, and we're kind of going to understand how they are feeling about things, how they're feeling about you with regard to this lesson, especially because we see both of you looking like you're having a tough time continuing with it. We see that there's a missed opportunity. We see that people just want to get things right, but there's a lot of lack of clarity about what that actually means. The other thing that I want us to look at in the extended is going to be about this. So we've got this energy that you're moving toward, and you're going to be applying your free will to it. But we've got this in and out energy. We've got an I'm not sure, it's time to invest. But we also have something that's kind of positive here. So I just want to dig into this a little bit more and understand kind of what's happening with that. So if this reading resonated with you, please do like, share, subscribe, and that way we're going to be able to stay together. I'll be able to keep delivering for you. Otherwise, though, if you want to see the extended, it's if you scroll down, it's in the information right below the video, and there will be a link to pile two. You should be able to go there, and it'll get you to my Vimeo page. So I'll either see you over at the extended, or if not, then I will see you in another reading. And now here we are with pile three. So pile three had the green aventurine. And I'm going to be reading for you with the Guardian of the Night Tarot. That's this one right here. And then I'll clarify with the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And we're looking at the lessons that the two of you are here to learn, as well as, you know, kind of what is creating a struggle for you as you're going through the situation. So let's start by getting a current energy for you. We're going to get your current energy, and it's about the soulmate situation. It's about the lessons. That's really kind of the energy that we're looking for. We've got this Four of Pentacles. So there's something that you're having a struggle letting go of. This is a tough thing to let go of, and that's kind of what's just in your main energy right now. So we'll see when we clarify if there's a little bit more to learn about that. But right now, it's that feeling of needing to let go of something, but not really being able to let go of it. Or the card doesn't necessarily suggest that need to let go of something, but the feeling is there. So let's take a look now at your person's current energy, and same question. You know, it's relevant to the soulmate cycle that you two are in. It is relevant to their energy and their lessons. That Six of Swords in reverse. Okay, we have seen an awful lot of the Six of Swords here recently in various readings, whether it be across these three piles today or just in general here lately. So the Six of Swords is, and you guys are probably sick of hearing me say it, when it's in the upright, it's about having moved out of some choppy waters emotionally into something that's a little bit less tumultuous and a little bit easier to deal with. But when it's here in the reverse, it means that you're not having the opportunity to come out of those tumultuous waters. So that's kind of the energy that's happening with your person. It's like they're having a hard time keeping their head up above the choppy waters of emotion. So that's what's happening in their current energy. And you've got something that you're having a tough time letting go. So let's see. Let's take a look. We're kind of talking about your person now. We're going to go on to what their biggest lesson is to learn in the situation. And of course, you know, there are multiple lessons that each of you is going to learn, but we're kind of looking for what's the big one right now. And just taking that top card. If you haven't been with me before, I know I get some new viewers. I have a tendency to just take the top card unless I'm guided to take more than that. So the Nine of Swords in reverse. They are having a hard time lowering their anxiety. And one of the things that I pick up about this is that they have an outrageous amount of anxiety about this relationship. And that is, in fact, it is one of the hallmark feelings for them of this relationship. Like they're completely drawn toward it, but by the same token, it freaks them out and gives them, and that may explain some of what you're seeing is that they need to get to a place where they're able to deal with being in this relationship without having a tough time with the anxiety that comes along with even just those basic things. Sometimes just something as simple as having a conversation with you will generate some anxiety in them that is frankly a little bit high of a level. So let's look at you now. What is it that you are learning from all this? And it's that same single card. Yep, it's that same thing. So it's that biggest lesson that's kind of on the top of the heap right now. And what we see here is temperance. So temperance is It's about balance, it's about patience, it's about going with the flow. But it's really about having kind of been through it and having been now forged and tempered into this new situation. So you're coming through something, and part of I think the lesson that you're going to learn here is about this letting go, this thing that you're having such a hard time letting go of. So I get the sense that your current energy and the lesson come together to talk a little bit about what's got to happen here. So this is interesting. You've got the current energy of having a hard time letting go of something, and you're moving toward a balance that's probably going to really require you to let go of it. Your person is working through a situation where they're feeling like they have a lot of tumultuous emotions and just a lot of difficulty that they're working through on an emotional from an emotional standpoint. And their lesson is actually about being able to work through things from an emotional standpoint. So your current energy is very relevant to the lessons that you're learning right now. Here, I want to look at kind of the struggles. What's standing in the way? Oh, and that just kind of came right out. Oh, all right. So, King of Cups. This is not an uncommon struggle. This is about wanting to appear emotionally stable. So the King of Cups loves to remain emotionally stable, or at least have that view, that perspective. He looks very emotionally stable. Whether he truly is or not is kind of a different question, but he must look that way. So when it's in the reverse here, it's that the struggle is that the person or persons, it may be both of you. I kind of get the sense that both of you have some trouble with this, but more on your person's side, there's an ego element that comes in for your person's side. They don't want to seem weak, and they don't want to seem like they can't handle things. But by the same token, they need to learn vulnerability. That's part of their lesson for them as well. And we see that here in the struggle. You can kind of get a sense for what the struggle is in this as you're looking at the current energy, even. I'm having a hard time letting go here. I'm having a hard time keeping my head above water, in these tumultuous, choppy waters. Those are struggles, but trying to keep yourself looking like you're calm, cool, and collected on top of all of it is just a big ugly challenge. And so when you've got that kind of challenge on top of having an ego question like your person does, where they don't want to look like they have an inability to stay calm, cool, and collected in some areas. And I'm not saying your person always has to appear that way, but certainly about this they want to. So let's take a look here at kind of that forward facing energy. And so this is that, not necessarily what exactly is going to happen to you next. It's more that energy of what you're going to be putting your and your person's free will into. So what is the energy that you're more or less going toward? And we see the strength card come out. So that is a really promising idea. The Like I said though, or like I typically like to say, the strength card never happens in a vacuum. It's always a result of something that you're being strong against. So it's being strong against a fear. It's being strong against something that's frankly kind of scary, and that's part of what's happening there. So I guess let's go ahead and jump in and clarify, because this is that first level of energy. We're going to get in and clarify here with the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot, and that's going to bring us into a different level of energy. And then we'll see what kinds of questions pop out for us as we work through this, and then we'll take those into the extended. And that'll get us into some even deeper energy. So we're going to start here by clarifying around the Four of Pentacles. Let's get a couple of cards to clarify the Four of Pentacles. Okay, so I actually am getting 3 cards to clarify the Four of Pentacles. Awesome. Let's take a look here. So it's painting a difficult picture. I will say that. So you've got the Four of Pentacles, where the energy is that of not wanting to give up on something, or not wanting to let go of something, not wanting to let it out of your sight, wanting to hold on to it, wanting to keep track of it. It's very protective. but it's also kind of a high anxiety sort of protection. There is a sense here of feeling like your hands are tied, or there is something here that you're not quite able to do, but that you would like to do. Something doesn't feel quite right. And it's just this sense also of kind of not being ready for this lesson that's coming towards you, you know. I mentioned in one of the other readings about when I was going through some of my own difficulties, feeling like I was in a maze that was shaped like a spiral, and I was just kind of going toward the center. And I would cast about looking for these alternative things to spend my attention on, and to focus on, because I didn't want to give up on a few of these central ideas that I was holding very dear. I wasn't ready, I didn't feel, to let go of those things or to do the growth that was being asked of me, even though I was very aware that things weren't right. I didn't feel like I could do it. But the truth is, you get to the end of the spiral and you realize there's nothing else here for you to spend your attention on. You're going to have to pay attention to what's right in front of you. And it turns out you are ready. You do have the tools. You can make this right. So that's ultimately what ends up happening. But right now, this is that sense of continuing to go through the spiral. And down here, when we see the Temperance card, as far as the lesson that you're really here to learn, it's about being here to learn that balance, and that it's about being able to take a situation like this and handle it in a graceful way, to remain graceful under pressure, if that's helpful. But it's more than that. It's also, you're going to navigate the situation, not just cope with it. So let's go ahead and look at the Six of Swords. Just get a couple of cards out for that one. So we have the Awakening card. That's just like the Judgment card in the traditional tarot, only it's coming out in the reverse. Something is not passing judgment. Oh, we're getting two cards for this one too. Interesting. Two of Wands and Ace of Wands. All right. So let me go ahead and break this one down for you, because what I see is that this person, we know that they're barely keeping their head above water in this emotionally tumultuous sort of situation. Something is not passing muster. It is not passing judgment. They're very aware of it. So here's a person that is very aware of their situation, painfully aware of it, as a matter of fact, and generally doesn't find themselves in this place. So your person, usually, I'm not saying they navigate emotional especially well. A lot of your people don't necessarily specialize in that, but they at least avoid the anxiety reasonably well, or they have a plan for that. But with you, when they get together with you, those abilities to navigate the anxiety start to kind of fall away. The emotion rises, they flood, they're having a hard time getting. This is what causes them to run away and to hide and to start acting like they can't do it, because they kind of feel like they can't do it. What they feel like they have a hard time doing is exactly what they want to do, though. They have this desire for a new, passionate beginning with you. They also feel like there's a distance between the two of you that they would like to bridge, whether it be a physical distance or an emotional distance, but it feels, again, more like an emotional distance. So if you've been watching this channel for long, then you'll notice I keep being surprised by the fact the Two of Wands comes out as an emotional distance. And it's not so much that I'm surprised by the fact that it would come out that way, but just the fact that it keeps coming out that way so frequently in these readings. Usually I get a smattering of different responses, but that's really what it's been meaning. It's been that emotional distance between two people that can be so difficult to bridge and find some place to meet in the middle. And that's really what the challenge is here. This is something that your person feels like they should be able to do. They feel like they should be able to have this passionate new beginning, but something within them is not passing muster, and it's creating that significant flood issue within them. So there's a conflict. There's something that's holding them back from being able to move forward with this. Creates a lot of anxiety for them. And that's our next one to clarify. So let's just go ahead and jump into that. And remember, this is kind of what is their biggest lesson in the situation. And it's around mitigating the anxiety that comes with the experience that they're having. So you're triggering an anxiety in them that is, frankly, a little bit different from what they are used to here. Okay, you're the anxiety that you're creating or that you cause in them, and I shouldn't make it sound like that. That sounds really accusatory, but basically, when they come up against your energy, they become very anxious. They have a hard time completing sentences in some cases. Just some of your folks are getting flustered, like they turn red and can't handle it. You'll find that they will go out of their way to avoid you, in some cases. And the visuals that I'm getting are pretty awkward and uncomfortable, but it's this sense of just a lot of anxiety, and it's causing them to spoil the partnership and do some things that are, that Two of Cups is about partnership, but what I see happening here is things that are sabotaging the partnership. And it's an opportunity to move forward and do something exciting, but they're not taking the opportunity. Instead, they're letting fear drive them. It's the opposite of what I see with this strength card. So it'll be interesting to get in over here and just kind of clarify, what's going on with that, and to see if maybe this is the change that you're looking for. Let's see here. So this is going to be the temperance card that will clarify. And this was your lesson. This was in the space of what we were doing, what we were looking at your lesson. So this is the temperance card, even in the face of the lack of flow of emotion. So I get the sense that you're able to create a pretty decent balance and to get by emotionally pretty well when the flow of emotion is happening for you and you feel a good give and take. And that's true for a lot of people. But what I'm noticing here is that once again, it's a unique response to this one person who kind of throws you off your game. So here's a person that makes your instruments spin. It's this feeling. This card gives me the sense of like you're flying over the Bermuda Triangle, and the instruments are just spinning. They're completely useless as far as telling you which direction you want to go, and that's how this person makes you feel. It's a disorienting, instrument spinning sort of feeling, and it's really hard to have that balance. But you're so magnetized to them, you also don't want to let them go, despite the fact that you know that things aren't quite right with that. With the way that it's working out and the give and take that's happening in the relationship, because honestly the give and take is such that you're not having that even steady flow of emotion. They are not allowing, your person is not allowing their emotion to flow because they're locking up due to the anxiety. And then when you don't see that emotion flowing, you're perceiving it as a slight as well, which is totally legitimate, except that that's not really how they mean it. This is just them locking up and not being able to get past it. So they're locking up and not being able to get past the anxiety. They're flooding and unable to get their head above the waves consistently in this choppy water, even though they really want something positive to happen, but they're sabotaging it. They're sabotaging it. And so by no means should you be standing by and acting like everything is okay. But by the same token, it's a learning opportunity where you've got something by the tail, and it's time for you to take it and learn what there is to learn. But it's going to be all about letting go in a situation where, and finding that balance in a situation where the emotion is not flowing and you are disoriented. So usually pulling that your emotion out of a situation and saying, you know what, I'm going to find balance, I'm going to do well by myself, not a problem for you. So this person is throwing you a bit of a curve and has managed to trigger you anyway. So this is going to be an important lesson for you to learn. But it's interesting. We've got both of you kind of wanting to maintain, to save face, to maintain that sense of looking like you're in relative control of your emotions. And I do get the sense that it's them more than it's you, but I feel like it's coming from both of you. Let's take a look a little bit more into that. Just kind of want to see what's happening with that. Because again, remember, this is a struggle that is creating an impact on your situation. It doesn't matter which of you it impacts more and which one it impacts less. The fact that it is going to impact growth for either one of you means that it impacts the situation for both of you. And so what we see is this inability to be vulnerable and allow yourself to seem like emotions could be unstable is slowing things down and creating a situation where it's tougher to feel stable about things. It feels a little bit contradictory that when you're feeling less emotionally stable and you're allowing yourself to let that show that you would actually be more stable. But when you're holding it in and you're not allowing something to come out that needs to come out and needs to be dealt with and coped with. There's a time and a place and there's a way to handle that. But if you hold it all in, it will create a threat to your stability, your emotional stability. And so that very thing that you or they, especially, are trying so hard to maintain and to protect the image of is the thing that would suffer and potentially even other stability. So, stability that is happening within your life. The Four of Wands is like a four legged stool, it's very stable, also represents a happy new beginning. So, this is getting in the way of turning over that new leaf and having that happy new beginning. And generally speaking, this sort of emotion just sort of slows things down. It doesn't allow the flow. That lesson that you're learning is that easy does it, sort of allowing it to flow. And honestly, to a certain degree, that's also the lesson that your person is learning. But that's a lot tougher to do when you slow down the energy and you're kind of holding on and trying to control, which is what's happening here with this King of Cups. It's a control, like I want to be able to at least control myself and my own emotions. It's not necessarily something that people shouldn't strive to be able to behave themselves, but this is a situation where you also need to be able to show some vulnerability. They need to be able to show some vulnerability, and that could be especially tough to do. So let's take a look at this strength card now and see what kind of clarifiers want to come out for that. So first we've got the Three of Wands. So this is about you guys feeling a little bit stronger because there's a nice connection between yourselves and your higher power, as well as having set a few things into motion that are going to make you more successful in general. So this is the connection to your higher self and higher power here in the universe card. It's also the world card. It's the idea of a happy ending. It's like if I were going to read this like roses and rainbows, I would say, oh, in your future, which I would never say because, of course, that would be acting like I can identify what someone's free will is going to be. And in truth, I can't really do that. I can tell you what circumstances or what energy their free will would be in. But honestly, it looks very beautiful. It looks like you're going to have this base of strength and you're going to have this happy ending sort of energy. They think the world of you, you think the world of them. Everything is beautiful. You set things into motion and now you're just waiting for things to materialize and manifest. And that's kind of what's happening in these cards here, but there's more to it than that. So there's work that has to be done along with this world card to kind of in order to get to this place, this awakening, this judgment that you're not, your person is not, something is not passing judgment with them. That's going to have to be fixed before you can get to this world energy. If you look at it, this is the 20 and this is the 21 card. Those are respectively the judgment card and the world card. It's in the traditional tarot, and you can't get to the world until you pass judgment. So there is certainly this basis of strength, which again is pushing against some base of fear. There is also the idea of having fearlessly set something into motion. That part I won't deny. That is what this sounds like over here, what it feels like over here. But this over here is really something has to happen in order to get to this universe card. But to tell me that this is the direction that you're going is just incredibly promising. And so that's what I have to pass on to you. So we're going to head over to the extended reading here in a moment. But before we do, I kind of wanted to take a look at it and just sum it up and take a look at it and see what questions seemed best to take into the extended. So we've got the you section over here. So if we look at the section around you, we've got you trying to work your way through letting go of something, but you don't feel quite right, like ready to go get rid of it just yet. It feels like you're going to be missing something, like you'd be chopping something off if you decided that you were going to let go. You don't feel like you're ready to let go yet. But in reality, you probably are more ready to let go than you might realize. There's actually a sense here that you're going to The fact that the energy isn't flowing with your person because they're learning this lesson is going to force you more into a position where you get to work on your own lesson. But again, it's going to be about your connectivity. It's going to be about your connection to your higher self that's going to allow you to do this. This is not necessarily a quick and easy ride. When we look at this, I kind of want to see in the extended reading, I think I want to take a look at what you're going to have to do to connect these pieces because you're looking to move toward this temperance, but there's got to be more to it right now. There is this, your instruments are spinning, like I said, like you're over the Bermuda Triangle. So, what is that? How do you manage that? And then you've got this situation with your person. Where they're having a hard time, like I said before, keeping their head above emotional water. They're flooding over there. They want this new beginning with you and to cross this emotional expanse, but something is very much in the way for them. They're unable to do it. And so they're unable to break free. They're doing these sabotaging sorts of behaviors and they're experiencing a lot of anxiety that is kind of triggered by the situation with you. So let's get in a little bit deeper and kind of find out. I think one of the things we might look into is just how they're overall feeling about the situation and you. We see the lesson. We see that they can't stop moving toward you, and they really want that passionate new beginning. But let's get in a little bit deeper because we were looking at their lessons, but I think that we also are going to want to look at this. This energy here that is in the way is troubling. I don't know that we need to look into it much more deeply because I think we kind of got to the bottom of it here. The stability is going to be threatened and things are going to be slowed down if both of you can't find your way to a little bit more of a vulnerable experience. But over here, this is what I really want to understand. What does it take to get to this? So we know that the judgment card or the awakening card kind of has to be turned upright as your person's situation passes judgment for them in order to get to this universe card. We also know it's going to be based very strongly on that connection with the universe and with yourselves. There is something the two of you are putting into motion here. I guess I want to look a little bit more at this and see if there's more that we can understand about this energy that you're moving toward. So that's what we'll look at when we get to the extended. We'll look at you, we'll look at the situation with them, and then kind of the situation that you're moving toward. So if this one resonated with you, I would just ask for you to like and share and subscribe so that we can stick together and I can continue to read for you. If you want to check out the extended, then just check out you might have to hit show more, but go ahead and check out the text beneath the video and just click on the link for pile 3 and it'll take you to my Vimeo page and it should take you from there. So I really appreciate you being here and I look forward to seeing you in another reading.